Welcome to the After Dark podcast with Anthony James and Konrad. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
Hello, and welcome to the After Dark podcast. My name is Anthony James, and that's Konrad.
Hello.
We're here to answer your questions about Season 1 and possibly your questions about looking forward to Season 2. As always, Konrad has never seen Dark, if anyone's joining us at this stage, and he's gonna give some of his off-the-wall theories. Now, on the last episode of the Season 1 summary, he actually got a lot more right than I thought he would. Having said that, he also got a lot wrong.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so there's a lot of red in that theory matrix. So we're going to do our best today to answer all your questions to as well as we can. And apart from that, I'm just trying to contain my excitement for this episode coming up on Monday, which is going to be Season 2, Episode 1, which I'm sure you're all excited about too. So before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe on the podcasting apps. And I don't think I've ever asked for this before, but if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that bell. Is that what you do? I can't remember what the bell does, to be honest.
The bell actually, it's really strange because I think the bell makes sure to send you a notification every time I upload. But the funny thing is, I thought if you were subscribing to someone, it would automatically send a notification anyway. So isn't the bell redundant, or is it just? I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe you click the subscribe button so you can check your subscriptions. But the bell gives you a notification. It's all very convoluted.
We're the professionals here.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just hit the bell. Hit the bell. Just trust me. Right. Okay. So let's get straight into the questions then. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
A stranger from the outside.
Right. So first question comes from Patrick Moore. And we've definitely had questions from you before, Patrick. So thanks very much. First question goes for Konrad. Now that Jonas arrived in the future, and he's put that in quotation marks just because he doesn't want to give too much away.
Okay.
How will he get back to another timeline?
Well, we know that Claudia can travel through time, seemingly at will, which implies she has probably one of the H.G. Tannhaus machines and presumably a ready supply of was it cesium 1? I'm never going to remember the number. Cesium 137.
Blink-182, cesium 137.
Yeah, it's a number of times that Tony Montana swears in the movie Scarface. That's actually what the Blink 182 is referenced to.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
That's
yeah, so I think he's going to have to run into Claudia, and she's going to introduce him to the H.G. Tannhaus time travel box, and that's what's going to allow him to travel through time. But like, the protective grandmother figure that she is, she's going to dole it out very responsibly and only let him have it as a little treat if he behaves himself. She's not just going to let him run wild with him. Yeah, absolutely. Like once he's eaten his greens, he can go and play in the 80s for half an hour.
Yeah. So, because I'll follow up this question from Patrick. Actually, how do you envisage him aging 33 years, or like we assume 33 years, 20 years, whatever he's aged? Do you assume that he's going to age that from that point in the future on to a further point in the future, or is he going to age throughout time? Like, how's that going to happen?
No, I think he's going to age throughout time. So I think he's going to be off doing bits and pieces in various different timelines and just aging as he's doing it.
Okay, cool. Next question is actually to me. So I've actually noticed that there's quite a lot of questions for me in this selection. So thank you very much. My subscribers are finally coming around to the idea that they want to hear from me. So that's
not indulge this fantasy.
Now, this actually isn't really about Dark. It is in a way. So they said, did you name your new baby with a name from a character of the show?
Noah.
Or at least the second name, meaning like the middle name, I suppose.
Not to hijack this question, but Noah was a name that I've always quite liked as a baby name, and Dark has now ruined that. So thanks, Dark.
To be honest with you, for me, Dark has made that name.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Maybe I'll come round on it.
Yeah, so my baby is a boy, and a lot of people were asking the comments like, did I name them Jonas? No. As a side note, I think it's hilarious. My brother was trying his hardest to convince his wife to let them call a son Ulrich. But that was actually, this is even more funny. It's even before he likes Dark and he loves Dark, my brother, but it was before he saw Dark. He wanted to name him Ulrich after Ulrich von Liechtenstein from A Knight's Tale.
Oh my God. I need to make fun of your brother next time I see him. Gotta make a note.
Two guesses for which brother that was, Konrad. Right?
No, I mean, yeah, it won't take me the full 2. I'll say that much.
Right. Okay. So I've actually talked to my wife because I thought I would get this question. I've talked to my wife whether she minds me revealing the name or not, and her answer was, what are they going to do? Come and watch us through the window. So, yeah. Okay. I'll reveal my son's name. Okay. So, because the reason why I want to reveal it is because it kind of is named after Dark, but it's not really.
I mean, sort of.
Yeah. So my son's name is Forrest. And if you are from Germany, I'm sure you know why I'm saying it's kind of like Dark, because there's a lot of forests in Dark. It wasn't really in my mind, but you know what? I'm such a Dark fan. I'll claim that.
Yeah, I mean, you thought about calling him Wald, but you thought like no one would understand the joke, so you went for the English version of it instead.
There you go. Exactly. So it is Forrest. Funny story. Every now and then I say a little story about my mother, and I do intend to get her on a podcast or a video at one point on my channel. Let me tell you a funny story about my mother. When I told my mother the name Forrest, right? So I live in Ireland, so the name Forrest is very uncommon here. Let's just say that for one. If you're an American, maybe it isn't as uncommon for you, but it is over here. But me and my wife, we're mavericks. We don't care. We'll name what we want. So we named him Forrest. And my mom, when I told her, she goes, "That's unusual," right? Which is always great because we always knew this was going to happen. But then straight out of her mouth was, "Oh, I love it." Now here's the funny part. She then texted me while I was still in the hospital with my wife recovering, and the baby was just born a few hours before. My mom texted me saying, I've been doing a little digging into the etymology of the name."
Oh God!
And she said, "It originally..." Now she might be completely wrong here, right? So don't try and deconstruct my mother's googling. She goes, "It's originally derived from French, and it comes from a word very similar to the word for woods."
Does it now? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
That's great.
I have that message saved from my
God
mother.
bless her. God bless her. That's really funny.
My plans for my mother on this, I really want to release a video where I just talk to my mom for 20 minutes and about Dark, because she's watched all of Dark. She loved it. But I'll just say stuff to her randomly, like, "Who's Ulrich?" And she'd be like, "Hang on a minute."
Yeah, that would be great content.
I want to put that video out there. So let me know what you think of that video, guys. Right, okay, so next question. Thanks, Patrick. Next question comes from an adventurous rover.
Oh.
My questions are, first of all, this is a big question, I think. How did Mikkel travel to 1986?
Oh, that is the big question. The longer the show goes without giving us a specific answer about that, and the longer it goes without even really addressing it, like no one is asking how Mikkel went back in time. It's just acknowledged that he did by the people who know that time travel exists. It makes me wonder if we're ever going to actually get a concrete answer about that. So my theory is that there is some kind of way for... I don't think Mikkel just ran back into the caves. I think that seems really weird to me, that he would manage to run into the caves, navigate them, and go through the door. That doesn't seem likely to me at all. Like, everyone who's gone through the caves has done so under direction or following someone else. So that seems really unlikely to me. So I think there's some kind of... And I don't think the show is really ever going to confirm this, so I don't think it will be a big thing. But in my mind, there's some way for the black hole or the wormhole under Vinden to expand beyond the caves and kind of absorb you into it, and that's what happened to Mikkel. So while he was standing in the woods, something like that happened to him. He was affected by the energy similar to the energy that flows up through the bunker, and was transported that way.
Interesting. That might also be why he's so confused,
Yeah, it's just the way he acts. Like, so I don't think he was abducted because he doesn't mention anything about being abducted. So I think that's off the cards. I can't believe that he'd just be able to run off on his own and navigate the caves. I don't believe he would even go into the caves. Like, he's not an idiot. Like, you're not like running scared through the woods and then thinking, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll
go in the
yeah.
place where the big noise that we're running
Yeah,
from.
I think that'll make this situation better. Like, even in a panic, you wouldn't do that. So I think there's got to be some kind of nebulous thing that happened to him, and I do wonder whether the show will ever actually confirm it or just leave it as a mystery that kind of kicks everything off, and leave it to our imagination. But that's kind of what I imagine happened in my head.
Okay, cool. Another question from Adventurous Ruba. Are there any other ways to time travel through time? So we know that there's the couple of different machines, and we also know that the tunnels exist. Is there any other way you think? Well, we've also sort of seen a portal too.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think if H.G. Tannhaus can make a time machine, to quote Jeff Bridges in Iron Man, like in a cave. He doesn't make it in a cave out of a bunch of scraps, which he also doesn't do. But like, for the purposes of this, he's basically like jury rigged a time machine out of a mobile phone. So like, if he can do that, admittedly with a schematic, but if he can do that with the technology available to him in like the 50s and the 80s, I don't think there's any reason why someone couldn't do it in the future or in 2019 whenever that sort of cataclysmic timeline is, why someone couldn't also do it there. So I think there's going to be more than one. I'm really hoping someone time travels in a phone box at some point, just to like really nail down those Doctor Who / Bill and Ted references that we're yet to have, given we've kind of plumbed the Back to the Future references now.
Yeah.
But I think there definitely will be.
Okay, awesome. And last question from Adventurous Raw. What's going to happen to Noah in season 2?
Well, so I think by the end of season 1, I felt like Noah is kind of like a heavy, like, to use like the old film terminology, like he's like the muscle. It feels like he's the guy who goes and gets stuff done.
Like a
but
Dave
he's not,
Bautista.
Yeah, like a Dave Bautista in the evolution, like, of Dark, but who is the Triple H? That's the real question, like, who's calling the shots here? I think there's someone we haven't met yet who is orchestrating all of this, who knows everything, or maybe claims to know everything, even if they don't, and they're kind of pulling Noah's strings. So I think Noah will continue to maintain the timeline. But he's such a great villain and such a great character that in my head, if I was writing this show, which is not to say, I'm a great writer, but if I was doing this, I would pull back the camera to reveal who's pulling his strings in season 2, and then I would sow dissent between him and the person who is pulling his strings, and maybe have Noah. I don't think he's ever going to be redeemed as a character, because he's pretty damn evil, but have him maybe go off on his own, start operating independently, maybe usurp the person who is pulling his strings, or maybe show some kind of redeeming qualities that put him in more of that grey area in the middle. But I think first we're going to meet the person who's kind of pulling his strings, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense to me, because he's such an evil character now. If he just stayed the same for 2 more seasons, it might get a bit dry. So I definitely know what you mean when you're suggesting he might sort of either be redeemed or sort of change, or be revealed someone else is controlling him in a way. Yeah, I think that's good. That should go in the theory matrix.
Yeah. All right.
I think even though this is a season summary, I still think we can get some theories out of this episode.
So what would you put that? Is that an episode 10 thing? I'll put it down as...
No, this will be episode 13.5.
Well, no, because the
episode 10 of Dark, you mean? Yeah, this all counts as episode 10. Yeah.
So Noah will... Okay. I'll add the I'll think of the wording of that, and I'll add it as we're going through these.
Good stuff. Okay, so because if you're throwing out a big detailed theory like that, I think it kind of needs to be recorded.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Okay, so next one comes from Alex Jones. Alex is obviously a frequent commenter. Thanks, Alex. He asks a question to both Konrad and me, so thank you very much, Alex. Alex is finally he's coming on board for me. He wants to hear my point of view. Thank you very much, Alex.
It's outrageous.
He says, What would now? I love this question because he's thinking outside the box. What would have been your judgment of Dark in season 1 had there only been had that been the only Dark that we'd have gotten? So meaning, what would we have thought of this if it had been cancelled after 1 season?
I think narratively, that's a really difficult question to answer because I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of how I would feel if I knew I wasn't getting any more, because I kind of know I do. And
Yeah.
in my heart, I'm like, I want to say, it would be a really satisfying narrative arc, regardless of whether it carried on. But I can't really say that honestly because I don't know how I would feel. I think it would still be a really good season of television, in a similar way to probably how, I guess, Firefly is the example that everyone of our age group goes back to, of the show that was cancelled early. But I think Firefly...
And the OA is a new one as well, which is...
Yeah, so I haven't actually seen the OA. Like, we have mentioned that before,
we might do that in a podcast because I think even for the end of season 2, it's worth getting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we might do that. But anyway, yeah. What were you saying?
I just think when you look at Firefly, people were really unsatisfied with how that ended up, like cancelled after 1 season, and that wasn't dealing in sort of broad narrative arcs anywhere near as big as Dark is. So I think it ultimately would have been frustrating because there would have been a lot of story potential that was just wasted, that was never resolved. But having said that, I'm always reluctant to sort of judge a story by how it ends, because I think that's very tempting to fall into that trap of if something has a satisfying last act or last 15 minutes, it makes you think the whole thing was good. And I think the way that we're watching Dark, or the way I'm watching Dark at the moment, gives me the opportunity to kind of reflect on that in a way where I'm not tempted to do it because I haven't seen the ending yet. And I think the character work in season 1 is brilliant. The realization of the 80s and the 50s is fantastic. It's great acting. It's really well shot. I love the score. So there's so many good qualities to Dark, but even if it would be frustrating to leave the narrative where it is, I think it would still be a really good season of television.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think the idea of like Jonas going into the future now, I think the idea that Helga is being put into the 80s, if it was to finish, it's kind of like pieces have been put in place where you can kind of fill gaps yourself.
Yeah.
So I think enough would have been done that it wouldn't have been the most unsatisfying cancelling of all time. However, having said that, again, like Konrad, you can't really say, because I'm sure no matter what if you knew it was cancelled, you probably would have been like really thinking that it's a double-edged sword. If you knew it was cancelled, if they actually came out and said it's cancelled, then you probably would have been like, what the hell? We had so much more to do. I didn't like this, and this.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know it was cancelled and they just said it's a one-off thing, it's a one series show, a mini series, then maybe you would have actually viewed it like, oh, I like that there's open questions, you know. So it is difficult. What I will say, if Barenboim Odor and Jon Vries said to Netflix, we're not doing a German show, we're going to do this show, but we want to do it in America and we want to do it with American actors. If they did that and they didn't want to do a German show, this would have been canceled. Because it's happened to so many American shows. Well, always the big example, but it's happened to a few others. Shows that take risks on Netflix and therefore, and that Netflix don't push them in terms of advertising the show. If they're an American show that has English as their main language, Netflix don't see them through. Whereas because this was their first German show and they want to sew up the German market, they kept it was relatively low budget. They kept it.
So that was something I was going to ask, and I've been meaning to ask it for a while. So Netflix have a habit, it's a bit of an annoying habit to be honest, but it doesn't bother me that much, it's a minor annoyance, of putting their name on things that they've actually just bought the licensing for from other companies who produced it. So a lot of for example, like speaking from an English perspective, a lot of the stuff that actually the BBC created, Netflix market overseas as Netflix series. So I was actually wondering if Dark was that, like whether it was produced by a German company or whether Netflix actually put their hand in their pocket to get it made.
No, Netflix actually, this is a Netflix original, 100%. So they actually sought out Barenboim Odor, And because after they made the film Who Am I, which we need to watch, and we're going to do
Jackie Chan film.
we'll do a review on that. I've got the DVD, Conrad. You have to get the DVD, or unless you can get it from some other means. But basically, after they made that film, Netflix went to them and they actually wanted them to do a TV series version of that film.
Yeah, I remember you saying like doing a hacker show or something.
Very American idea, isn't it? Like, oh, I love that movie. Could you make it into a series for us?
Yeah, let's expand. Let's explore this universe.
As much as I like the first few seasons of Fargo, like, come on, like, that it didn't. I don't even know why that was originally thought of. Like, at the same time, it was not an exact retelling. So Fargo actually works, but that idea of taking a really good film and just saying especially one that was only made a few years ago, Who Am I, and saying, here, let's make a series out of this. But yeah, I think that if Dark was an American show, I don't think it would have made to the end of season 3. To be honest with you,
it's entirely possible. Yeah,
I think that it would have been. I think they would have expected an American show to get higher numbers in the first season than it did, because if you think about it, Dark has grown an awful lot. There's a lot of people who've seen Dark now. Obviously, not as big as some other shows, but there's a lot of people who've seen Dark now. It's a big show now, but it wasn't like that after season 1. So I don't know if Netflix would have stuck around if it wasn't for them trying to get the German market sewn up, because this was the first German show. Remember? So
yeah.
Who knows? Okay, thanks, Alex. Next, we have one from Marvin. Was the bunker built above the passage? Actually, before I do this, Marvin, I do trust you. I trust you. I remember I think a few weeks ago, I read out a question from Marvin, and it was a big, long one. So I said, I need to be careful I don't read out any spoilers. and Martin commented saying, thanks for the trust. I do trust you. I promise. But anyway, I'll have to watch out for the spoilers in this comment here. Was the bunker built above the passage? Oh, this is a great one. Was the bunker built above the passage, or was the passage built under the bunker?
Well, okay. Well, so if we unpack what we know about this, so the passage was built to encapsulate the wormhole, I think, knowing that Jonas would go into that passage in 1986 with the device and create the wormhole. So I think and also with the knowledge that Noah would need a room to channel the time travel energy into for his own machine, which actually, as I mentioned, that stuck out to me as something that I think he's doing potentially behind the back of whoever's pulling his strings, just to put it out there before I forget, because he's trying to, if he's working for the people who are like in charge of controlling this timeline, why does he need to create his own time machine? So yeah, I think the tunnel was built under the bunker, because the bunker's been there since, well, it looks like a sort of World War II, maybe even earlier than that bunker. So the bunker's been there since probably the 30s or the 40s, and the tunnel was built specifically to house the wormhole, or give it a place for Jonas to create it. So I think the tunnel was created for under the bunker.
No problem. That kind of goes against the theory you had previously that you didn't put in the theory matrix, and that was that you predicted that the tunnel was really old because of the door of the tunnel looked like it was very old.
Yes, that's true.
You didn't put that in your theory matrix.
No, that's true. Well, yeah, I wasn't really sure how to like quantify that as a theory, really, because it's just like the door is old. I mean, it's like I know what you mean. That is a good point. I feel like the door is designed to look old to imply the length of time, the amount of time, or the length of, this is going to sound weird to say, the length of time that time has been looping. I feel like it can't actually be old. It can't actually be any older than, I guess, the length of time that the time loop runs for. But yeah, I suppose, with that said, if there's people operating outside of the time loop, or people who know it's kind of happening, there's no reason why they couldn't go right to the beginning of the time loop and create the tunnel then, whatever time that is. I guess We haven't really heard anything that says it's a 99-year loop. I don't think. We've just heard that it moves in like 33-year cycles. So I guess there's no reason why it couldn't be, 999 years in the past or something like that. And that's when they built the tunnel. So the tunnel could still be really old and still built purposefully to sit underneath the bunker when it's created.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. So like
Yeah,
it was
does,
the tunnel's built to go underneath the bunker, but the bunker might not have existed when it was built.
It was predicted like the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, exactly. It predicted all those things correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so
Take that, Mayans.
Yeah. Question from Bill Ross. Bill Ross was a late comer to the podcast. He joined us when we were on about episode 8, I think.
Okay, welcome.
Because his comments were popping up on all the first few episodes whenever we were all doing it, because hardly anyone comments on them anymore. So he was popping up. So that's why I recognize you, Bill. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. It's good that you've caught up with us, so now you can ask questions. So in Konrad's opinion, is there one production element that outweighs the rest in season 1?
Sound design. A sound design and score. I'll lump those in together to cheat. I think whoever is picking the music for this series is doing a phenomenal job, but I also think just the general sound design, the kind of it really reminds me of and it's obviously not them, but the kind of yawning synthy quality of like Vangelis in Blade Runner. They've got like some of that in the sounds of the cave and in like the stinger for Noah. So yeah, that easily the sound design, but I don't want to do a disservice to any of the other design elements. Like there's some really nice photography as well.
Casting.
Casting is great too. The technical elements of Dark are all really, really good.
Yeah, and I would also go maybe a bit like umbrella here, maybe, but the direction of the show, to be honest with you, and I'm not talking about like I'm not talking like a meta en scène, which is what Baron Bodor seems to be. He takes control of most of it, but I'm talking about literally like, think of it like a stage director, like directing of the actors. I mean, so the choice to, for example, never show Mikkel when he's emotional from the front. It always cuts to behind him and shows the other character reacting to it, because that actor clearly isn't good at acting emotional. So the choices to how to manage the actor's strengths, I think, is a fantastic thing that the show does as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can always tell when something has a good director, because they take actors who are not necessarily amazing in other stuff and make them phenomenal. And that's I'm not judging the actors in this because I've not seen them in anything else, obviously, because I don't watch that much German stuff. But you can kind of tell. Mikkel is a really good example of an actor who there's clearly been some attempt made to sort of hide his limitations, and so the actors never feel exposed in a way that they can do when actors who simply aren't suited to it are asked to do like really long, drawn out single take scenes or something along those lines. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, but I do agree with you as well. Like the first thing that pops out in your head is the score, like the soundtrack and the sound design. It is amazing. Like every time that those montages hit, it sends my brain to another planet, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean just the little stingers as well. Like the image of the cave with like to go back to again that kind of Vangelis yawning synthy sound is so striking and so immediately recognizable, and it really, really works well. And then you're trained to recognize that sound, and by like the third episode they're throwing it into little spots, and it immediately sets a tension and sets a mood that is all the doing of the sound design.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So Donnie starts. I think if I remember correctly, Donnie Starts is going to enjoy those wrestling references we were making.
Oh, really?
He commented because Donnie loved the use of the D-Generation X theme in our original few episodes
that we had to get rid of because of licensing issues.
Yeah, break it down. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So thanks for the question, Donnie. He says now the next few questions aren't about Dark, so. Sorry to anyone who's only listening for Dark, but obviously some listeners are enjoying us going off on little tangents. So Donnie asks, I've got a non-Dark question. Have any of you guys, so talking to both of us here, have either of you read A Song of Ice and Fire or Kingkiller Chronicles? So first of all, have we read those? I've read A Song of Ice and Fire. I've got the first Kingkiller Chronicles book, which I think is called In the Name of the Wind or The Name of the Wind. I've got that on my bookshelf. I haven't read it yet, and I know apparently it's amazing, and I've been putting it off for years. And maybe I've just ordered the first book of The Expanse, if I'm honest with you. So maybe I'll wait till I finish reading that. But yeah, what have you? First of all, have you read either of those? I know you've read A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, I've read A Song of Ice and Fire. I've never even heard of Kingkiller Chronicles. Actually, I'll have to check that out. What is it? What is it about?
It's another fantasy series. I haven't read it. I don't know too much about it, and I think the main, from what I've seen from just like material, like advertising material and stuff for it, I think the main character is called Kavoth, and I think it's I know it's written by an author called Patrick Rothfuss, and the only thing I know about I think I know that there's like a university in it, which really made me like sort of like the idea of a fantasy series with like a university, so it made me think of like his Dark Materials and stuff, you know. I'm not quite sure if it's fully medieval. I don't know, I haven't read it yet, but Patrick Rothfuss apparently, now Donnie I'm sure can correct me on this, but if I'm wrong, but what I've heard about it is that he's really into the world building of it, and to the point where he created the world before he started writing the book. He created the world and then played like D&D in the world to make sure it was a working world. And apparently in his house, I don't know if he still has this, but when he was first writing the books, in his house he had like blackboards on the wall, and he had plotted the economy of the whole land on the blackboards and everything.
That's talking about fantasy authors who come up with their worlds based on D&D. For anyone who wants a book recommendation out there, the Malazan Book of the Fallen series is the best fantasy series I have ever read. So I
think you recommended that to me.
It's so goddamn good.
About 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's still really good. You should still read it. But I'll have to check out that Kingkiller Chronicles. I think the next thing on my list of, this isn't fantasy, this is sci-fi, but the next thing on my list of big kind of epics to get into is Dune, to try and get ready for the movie. I don't know how many of those I'll get through before the movie comes out, but I will
is the movie based on the first book, or how's that work?
I don't even think it's the whole of the first book. I think it's like part of the first book, because that's doable, meaty. But I will definitely check out that Kingkiller Chronicles, because that sounds fun.
Yes, so both A Song of Ice and Fire, Kingkiller Chronicles, I believe, is only going to be a trilogy of books. And they're sort of, the fans of that have been waiting for that for ages, in the same way that we've been waiting for A Song of Ice and Fire, the last two books for that.
I honestly, I don't know how you feel about this, but I read A Song of Ice and I finished A Dance with Dragons, I don't even know, probably 2013, something like that, like a while ago. I don't even know if I'm going to read the last two when they come out.
I think I'll definitely read them. I think I will. I've just put a video up on the channel talking about why I think George R. R. Martin's taken so long. But I personally will read them. Having said that, am I as excited for them as I was 5 years ago? Definitely not. It's sort of, the bubble has burst in terms of that.
The shine has come off of that story a little bit in the wake of how they finished the series.
Yeah, and we do plan on doing some. We've already done, actually, in the past is our Jon Snow episode, so you will have heard that. But we plan on doing some more Game of Thrones stuff, which, clearly very relevant these days. But it's good. It's good fun. Like, I think a lot of people did enjoy Game of Thrones, and I think we can all sort of, whenever Game of Thrones season 8 first came out, just as a little side tangent here, because we are talking about it, I thought it was hilarious because a lot of people were sort of really defending the choices they made in season 8. When it first came out, there was a big debate. And did you notice what happened over the following year and 3-4 months now? Those dissenting voices who were sort of dissenting against the outcry of how bad it was have went away.
Yeah, I am of the opinion that you should never get that angry about a movie or TV series, because there's only so many hours in the day. But there are some things about that final season of Game of Thrones that are, and I don't use this term lightly because I know people use this word often and they don't actually mean it. They are objectively bad, and it's it was a disappointing end to something that I loved. But the books, I do really like A Song of Ice and Fire as a series. It's fun. Well, maybe that's not the right word. It's engaging and it's broad and it's exciting. It's not as good as Malazan Book of the Fallen, but it's still very good.
And it was also my first foray into sort of more hard fantasy. Rather than coming from a background of reading like Harry Potter and stuff.
Fancy with boobs in it.
Oh, geez,
That's what you want.
Oh, you took the literal meaning of the word hard there. But all right, thanks, Donnie. Next question, Adam. Now we took quite a while on that question, so maybe people aren't liking this non-dark questions. But
sorry,
you know what? I'm all for it. These are question and answer videos for you to ask us questions, and if you want to ask us a question about Dragon Ball Z, you do it.
Yeah.
So Adam asks. I'm all in for the Dragon Ball Z questions.
Oh, here we go.
What's your favorite season / villain of Dragon Ball Z / Super, and why?
I've never watched Super. I keep meaning to, but I haven't got around to it.
Is Super the one where someone told me in the comments? Is that where they take out all the filler?
No, that's Kai. So I watched
Kai. Okay, Super's just one of the sequels, yeah.
Yeah, so Super is the season. I think Super's still going. I don't know but they basically started up again, I think in like 2012 or something, and still going. So I watched all of it when I was a kid, which I think you did, and then I watched Kai recently. Favorite season? I think it's got to be the Frieza saga. I think that's probably the best season. And Frieza's probably the best villain. Although I always have a soft spot for Cell, and I have a tattoo of Vegeta on my arm, so I kind of have to plump for him as my favorite character because Vegeta is, as his shirt suggests, a bad man.
Yeah. He's to quote Seinfeld, a very, very bad man.
Yeah. Did you used to watch it, didn't you?
I watched Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it all.
Okay.
So, yeah, Saiyaman?
Saiyaman's a good Saiyaman. Gohan pretending to be a superhero so he can save lives while he studies so as not to piss off Chi-Chi is a great little arc.
Yeah, I have to say, I think I'm a little bit younger than Konrad, so I've seen the whole thing. But the things that sort of, you know how certain moments in your childhood you remember more vividly? I remember the Cell saga and the Boo saga much more vividly than I remember the Frieza saga, if I'm honest with you. I would maybe need to watch the Frieza saga to get all the points in again to my head. So I'm willing to concede that I may be wrong, but for me, the Cell saga is what I view as my favorite.
Cell is very good. Like Cell saga is still, I think most people feel the Boo saga is the weakest, but
to be honest with you, see Gohan when he comes out of the hyperbolic time chamber and he's a teenager now, and he's Super Saiyan but with short hair. I thought that was that was the coolest. Yeah, Super Saiyan 2. That was the coolest thing ever to me.
I had a poster of the father-son Kamehameha on my wall when I was about 15 years old, and it was the coolest thing in the world when I had that on my wall. Didn't have many girlfriends at that time, I have to be honest. But
I will say as well, the whole Hercule comedy relief of that.
Oh yeah, Mr. Satan is in Mr. Satan's relationship. Well, yeah, Mr. Satan / Hercule showing up in the Cell games is hilarious, and then his relationship with Boo in the Boo saga is very funny as well. Like him basically turning into like a sort of kitchen sink drama with Boo for like 5 episodes. Him trying to stop him from turning everyone into chocolate and eating them is very funny.
Yeah, and just to put a little bit of a little full stop on this conversation, I will say maybe I am in the real minority. I'm not. My brother again would be more akin to what's actually in the fandom of Dragon Ball Z these days. But for me, maybe this is really, really going against the grain. But I absolutely love the in the Boo saga at the very beginning of it, the tournament episodes.
Oh yeah, where they go I can't remember what it's called now, but they go to compete in the tournament and they're doing like the weight the punch machine. Vegeta just blows it up.
Yeah,
I love Vegeta. He's so good.
And Goten and young Goten and young Trunks get put in the match, and they just have this huge, amazing fight. Yeah.
they're in like the under 14s brackets, and they just beat everyone up, and then they just have this amazing sparring match.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball Z is good. We should do a Dragon Ball Z series, podcast. Just
yeah.
watch all 800 episodes of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look out for that. But right, okay, thanks, Adam. Let's get back to Dark now. So Marcy747 says, how many different parties, now I think you answered this already, but how many different parties do you think are fighting in this game of time, and who are their leaders?
So I think I've said it's 3. I think it's more 2 broadly. So you've got the guys who are trying to keep it as it is, and you've got the guys who are trying to change it. And I think the guys who are trying to keep it as it is, at the moment, we only know Noah and Helge. I think there'll be more than that. I think there's someone pulling Noah's strings. The guys who are trying to change it, I think, is Claudia, and to a certain extent, the Stranger. But I suppose I think there's only 2 groups in the sort of, I guess you'd call it like the kind of cosmic time travel sense. But within that, I think the group that Jonas has run into in wherever he's woken up, presumably the future, but we don't know yet. I think they may not actually know about time travel. They may just be kind of operating on a basic instinct kind of level of, we need to survive this war that we're in whatever year we're in. So I think there's other factions within those factions, but I think there is a binary. These guys are trying to maintain this horrible timeline, and these guys are trying to change this horrible timeline, and they're the sort of subdivisions within that.
Okay, awesome. There's another question here from Marcy. So Marcy, it's a long question, but because we're going quite long, I'll just sort of summarize it down. The question is, how German do you think the show is? Marcy says that they're from Germany, and they don't feel that the show is very German at all. So how German do you feel the show is, except for the fact that they're speaking German?
It's kind of difficult to answer that, because I've been to Germany quite a few times. I know quite a lot of people in Germany, and you don't, when you ask like particularly an English person or a general English person what they think of as a German thing, they'll come up with like various stereotypical answers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it doesn't have. No, that's not true, actually. I was going to say it doesn't have the kind of dry sense of humor that I associate with German stuff, but it actually does have that, because I've said in the past, there is like comedy in Dark, like with the coroner, like really ominously pointing out Eric's like drug unicorn tattoo as like some dark portent of the future while he's standing next to a corpse, or like Egon
also
focusing on
Yugoslavian meatballs. Yeah,
Yugoslavian meatballs, yeah, and Egon's infatuation with Satanists. So actually, that is quite, in my experience, quite typically German to have that very like dry sense of humor. But it doesn't feel that German to me. But that's from a very kind of like lay-minded outside perspective.
Yeah, and to me as well, I feel the exact same as you. I think that a lot of people are going to comment from Germany and say, well, it is German. It really portrays a German small town well. There's lots of forests. There's lots of rain. I'm sure people will come to the defense and say that it is German. But, to me as well as an outsider, I don't notice the smaller things that maybe someone who lives there would.
I think the thing that I sort of take away from it is, or why I would say it doesn't feel that German, is there's not that much like slice of life in it. Like, you're not actually seeing people doing their day-to-day stuff, really.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting a sense of, what Jonas is up to at school. You see him go to school, but it's to get in a fight with Bartos or kiss his aunt or do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not you're not getting a real sense of like the routine or the mundane for these characters.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tie them down to what would be conceived as like typically German.
Yeah, because it all comes down to as well, there's not much filler in the show, so the filler is where you find that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, cool. So next question comes from Beatrice, and I like this question. She says, "Can Konrad tell us his top 3 and bottom 3 characters for season 1?" Now, this is an interesting question, because you could have a character who you really despise, but that could make them a good character. So we'll go with Would you want to go with characters that you like and dislike, but not make a comment on the quality of their character, or you literally say, I don't like how these are written?
Let's go with the top. Let's continue the wrestling analogy by going with the top 3 heels and the top 3 baby faces of of the dark roster.
No tweeners.
So, no tweeners. No, you're either a good guy or a bad guy. It's lazy writing otherwise.
Yeah.
So in the top 3 good guys, you have to have Jonas in there. I feel like you'd be foolish not to.
This is your top 3 favorite good guys, by the way.
Yeah, I like Jonas. I feel like I can cheat by saying Jonas is in there because I get the stranger in there as well.
Okay. They're the same character. Yeah.
Who else? This is hard because there's a lot of character. Like I want to put Claudia in there, but I feel like I haven't seen enough of her yet to really justify it. I'm gonna come out of left field a little bit on this. I'm gonna say in a stunning turnaround, I'm gonna say Alexander might sneak into my good guys list.
Okay.
Leather jacket, brings a gun, turns up with a bullet wound. He seems all right to me. And who's getting that 3rd spot? I'm gonna say Claudia. I like Claudia. She's got her head screwed on straight. She figures stuff out. It was between her and Charlotte really, and Egon actually as well. That was the other one. But Egon would have been a sympathy vote. He wouldn't get much done, but it'd be nice to have him on the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go Claudia because she seems pretty badass. She's kind of wandering around with a gun, looking like she knows how to look after herself. She's traveling through time, and getting up to all sorts of cool stuff that I think we're going to see in the next few seasons. Bad guys. It's pretty easy. This, I have to be honest. Like, it's going to be Ulrich, Noah, and Bartos. Sorry, guys.
Oh, so are you not counting Helga in there?
No, Helga's not as bad as those 3. Bartos is.
I love the fact that the all the people who are defending Ulrich in the comments are defending him because they are equating him going back in time and killing baby Hitler. And they're referring to Helga as a sort of analogous to baby Hitler. And you're not even putting baby Hitler in their eyes in your bottom 3 characters.
No, like I mean, he's not as bad. Like, I'm sorry, like Helga.
Bartos hasn't killed anyone.
No, yeah, that's true. I'll give you that. I will grant you but I don't trust him. I don't trust Bartos. He just sucks. He sucks so badly. Like, I thought, do you know, I went on a journey with Bartos this season because I said in the first episode I saw him and I was like, this guy really sucks. And then we had a couple
Doppler's black hole. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. And we had a couple of comments saying like, oh, lay off him. Like, he's flawed, but there's something to him. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Like, I shouldn't make snap judgments about these characters. The writing is good enough that I should give it more of a chance. I've given him 10 episodes. He still sucks, and now he's siding with Noah. So Bartos can like do one, quite frankly. And then Ulrich. The difference between Ulrich and Helga, I'm not going to relitigate this, but like, at least Helga seems like he feels guilty about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, Ulrich isn't the slightest bit remorseful, whereas Helga is like, knows what he's doing is wrong. He just like does it because he doesn't see any way out of it now. Like, he's kind of trapped within his own crimes.
Yeah. And let's be honest, he seems a bit dim. Like,
he's easily manipulated.
He seems to have a learning difficulty of some sort as well.
Yeah, like he is unquestionably being manipulated. That doesn't excuse what he does, obviously. But
if Darren Brown saw Helga walking into the auditorium, he'd be thinking, "Here we go."
There's a mark. Yeah. But and then obviously Noah is fantastic. Like, Noah's a great bad guy. I love Noah as a character. I'll be really interested to see that. That's kind of the one. Probably the thing I'm most fascinated about for next season is to see if we get another bad guy, because I feel like the show could do with another bad guy for Noah to kind of play off. Now that Helga's not really involved with him anymore. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes. But Noah is number 1 with a bullet. And to be honest, in a general list of my favorite characters, Noah's probably at the top, or definitely in the top 2.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to now give my top 3 favorite characters could be
Yep.
good or bad, because I'm not going to sort of make a judgment on they're good or bad because I know too much. You know what I mean?
Is that based on where we are now, or your just general overall feeling of them in the show?
Well, there might be some characters that you maybe haven't met yet, and there might be some characters that we haven't really seen for a long time yet. We haven't seen them since the beginning, but generally, it probably would be around where we are now. So in season 1, my favorite characters were. Let me think. Okay, so I've talked about Claudia being one of my favorite characters in the show, but if we're limiting just to season 1, is she my top 3 favorite from this season? I'm thinking back. I think, to be honest with you, this might sound really pathetic, but not pathetic, but it might sound really like I'm just making things up. But I think back whenever I was coming out of this season, this is going to sound so strange. My favorite 3 characters were, I'd say, probably Jonas. Jonas was in there. My top 3 favorite characters. I especially since I found out the stranger was Jonas. So the whole outside the hospital in '86, that whole scene they had together. Come on, he had that's obviously the same character. So that has to put them in your top 3. Then I also, weirdly, Mikkel would be in my top 3 of this series.
Yeah, Mikkel would be one of the Neelys for me, I think.
Yeah, I love Mikkel. And then if we're talking just this series and just the characters that I really enjoyed, it's gonna have to be Ellie.
I do really like Ellie, but she didn't do enough to justify it for me.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So I need so she's on the edge. I think the other one that could maybe be going in there would be Egon. I really like the character of Egon.
Yeah, Egon does a lot this season as well.
Yeah.
You know, he not all of it good. You know, he's not always the brightest of sparks, but God bless him, he tries. And he gets a lot to do. Whereas Ellie is more quality over quantity, I feel.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so Bill Ross asks another question. He says, "What's Konrad's theory about the stranger's neck scar? What caused it and why?"
Well, so I still stand by he tried to hang himself at some point, or well, if my theory about dying being some way to exit the loop or something is to hold any water, he successfully killed himself, but somehow maintained the scars. I haven't fully thought through how that works in relation to the scars, but I think that's what happened to him. Maybe if that theory proves to be wrong, maybe he was just hung, or hanged, I should say. Sorry. The meat is hung, men are hanged, as my mum always used to say to me. He was hanged or attempted to be hanged by someone and escaped. That's probably what I think caused that.
Okay, interesting. All right, next question. Now that Konrad knows who Stranger is, what does he think about little Jonas, like young
Jonas,
young Jonas's destiny?
Babby Jonas.
Would it be difficult or not? Is he doomed to become the Stranger, or can he change the world?
I don't think he's going to be the one to change it.
They've added in brackets here. I'd like to know how optimistic Konrad is after season 1. So in terms of Jonas, do you I imagine by optimistic, do you think that he's going to be able to change it?
I don't think Jonas will. I think we know Jonas's beginning and we know his end. And it is about the journey he takes in the middle that will make that character compelling and make him relatable, I think. I'd be, given what we know about the sort of nature of the time loop and how everything within it is supposed to be deterministic, if there is one character in this who is able to act in a way that actually permanently closes the loop, I will be very surprised. I think we'll constantly be looking for that one character who might kind of figure out how to do it, and is trying to sort of move the pieces on the chessboard in a subtle way, while also kind of maintaining the time loop until they're ready to enact their plan. But I don't think it's going to be Jonas who does it. But I think Jonas is he has a more important part to play in that he's the audience kind of eyes. He's the audience analog. Like, it's through him that we'll see this timeline, see what has happened, see these characters, and we will also see his character develop. And I think that's his part to play in all of this. Obviously, he will do stuff that's important to the plot too, but I don't think he's going to be the guy to kind of fix it.
All right, next question. What does Konrad think of the girl who welcomes Jonas to the future?
That's Marta.
Who might she be? Yeah, so I think we've got a theory in the theory matrix for that already. She's Marta, apparently. So
if I was being serious, I mean, she's a new character. I think I think my first thought when I saw her, if I'm being honest, was, oh, that might be Marta, even though it's obviously not Marta. So I felt like I had to put it in the theory matrix just to be full disclosure. But yeah, I think she's going to be some like leader of a rebel group or like a faction that's fighting against some army that has either occupied Europe or is I can't even begin to imagine what kind of conflict is going on, but something's going down, and I think she's one of the she's the John Connor of this future. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. All right, so next question is from Anna Wolf. And Anna says, what does Konrad think of the dead boys in the 50s? Does he know who they are or have a theory? I think we've talked about this before. So I think we've got so many questions here. Just give your few sentences just to confirm you do.
That's just Eric and Yasin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I was second guessing myself for a second then. So yeah, that was just Noah trying to send some people back to the 50s and doing it, but they got all burned up at the same time.
Okay. Anna, I've just read the rest of your comment, and we were joking a lot of the time. So a lot of the things we say, just take it as nonsense. So Anna says, I don't think he knows their identity about the boys in the 50s because of a comment he made about one of them being a younger version of a different character.
Oh, was this the Yasin is Alexander?
Yeah.
Never, like, I am willfully obtuse and an idiot most of the time. Never take anything I say seriously.
Yeah, so Anna, we were joking about that, and we're joking about that to sort of label how much of a fool that Konrad is, because he legitimately predicted that a deaf-mute child would grow to be Alexander.
Know that he's deaf-mute. I'd like to make that very clear.
Well, that is open-ended. That is
in the theory matrix. We have yet to see it confirmed that yes, it was deaf-mute.
But then, so I was already skeptical of that theory, and then Yasin died, so we just kept the joke going. And to be honest with you, we probably still will.
Yep. Every time we see Alexander, he is officially Yasin now.
Yeah, exactly. We also, maybe Anna, you didn't realize as well, we also don't really pronounce it Tronti. All right, let's keep going. Battery 170 says, does Konrad have any theory on how Jonas will escape 2052? Or it's sort of giving away that it's 2052 there, although Konrad did correctly predict that because of
it kind of stands to reason that it was going to be 2052. I think it's got to be Claudia. She's going to rock up with a time box and be like, hey, Sonny, and then do you want to come hop in my time machine? And then they're going to go off to the 80s.
She's going to be really drunk, and she's going to be like, hey, Morty, Jonas.
The Libyans.
Okay, next one from Latrice. Do you think Jonas was a good main protagonist / focal point for season 1? Is there any other character you would have chosen to follow instead? Good question.
I think, it's really interesting to think who is actually the protagonist of season 1, I think, because it kind of ebbs and flows. For much of probably, let's say, the first half of the season, Jonas isn't really the protagonist because he's not really the one propelling the plot forward. If anything, might argue that Ulrich is the protagonist, albeit
and Egon in the 80s as well, I would say.
Yeah, Egon to a certain extent as well. But yeah, I think Jonas is kind of the, as I said to that a couple of questions ago, I think he's like the audience analog. So he doesn't know what's going on, and he's getting thrown all these kind of weird curveballs about his own heritage and ancestry and what that means about the relationships he's formed in his life. And he's sort of the human element that grounds us in the reality of what these sort of wider time travel plot lines actually mean for the people that are affected by it. And I think he's really good as a character to explore that. I think in season 1 Ulrich probably does more. Obviously Jonas has the the big action, or older Jonas, I should say, has the big action that kind of sets things in motion and kind of sends us on the way to season 2. But Ulrich has the beginning, so it's kind of they kind of split the duties on the protagonist front.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, I think what they're sort of alluding to in that question as well is the idea that we're sort of seeing the world of time travel through Jonas's eyes, and if we were to follow another character in terms of their sort of way into the loop in a way, I suppose the only other answer who could have been taken to Jonas's same role in the show would be Claudia in the 80s, I would say.
Yeah, Claudia seems like she's coming at the same solution from a different angle, if you like, to Jonas, which, you know, it's appropriate that they will meet, if not in the middle, they'll meet kind of as their paths cross in 2052. But yeah, she would be the other one who's kind of figuring it out. Charlotte's close as well, I will say, although she hasn't really done anything to propel the plot forward. Charlotte is kind of in a position to do that, I think, in season 2. So I'll be interested to see what they do with her character.
Okay, cool. This one has a triple question mark, so just prepare yourself.
Oh wow!
Will Egon ever find the Satanists?
I hope so. I hope he finds those damn Satanists who are killing all the sheep and the birds and selling drugs and doing whatever else they get up to.
Yeah, if only.
If he could just, I mean, yeah, we live in hope.
Satanists on the brain.
Yeah.
Okay, another question from Anna Wolf. So I think I've taken questions from 2 different videos that I asked for questions, so that's why some people have commented twice, I'm sure. If not, they're just really keen, which is great. So Anna says, what characters from different timelines who haven't time traveled in season 1 do you think worked well together? So, so Anna's sort of trying to get us to, as the kids say, ship characters. So, so Anna says, for example, she thinks Agnes and Vola would make a good couple.
I feel like they'd be constantly lying to each other, that couple. Like the two of the most dishonest characters in the whole show. And, you know, she's philandering as well, so she'd cheat on him immediately.
Yeah.
I think that, hold on, right, let me think this through. Who are the most competent people? I'm going to say Claudia, and I'm trying to think of a male character who's the most competent male character?
Alexander, but that's her son-in-law.
Yeah, Alexander was my first thought, but that would be kind of weird. And also, she met him, and you know, when he was like a teenager, so that's a bit odd in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think Claudia and Egon is like, that's a power couple, because Egon.
Egon's Claudia's dad.
Yeah, but you just have to ignore that.
Yeah. Come on, we already know that Jonas kissed his auntie. So
yeah, like I think that's a power couple, because Claudia is like super competent at everything she does, and Egon is completely incompetent. And together they'd probably like even each other out. And I think they'd at least be good fodder for comedy, if not actually doing anything. I feel like if they were a couple, Egon would ruin the whole like Claudia's whole plan by like knocking a plug out of the wall while she's trying to build a time machine or something. But it'd be good laugh to see.
Yeah, I think this is maybe a strange thing to say, because they are both in their child form, is what I'm thinking. But I think Mikkel and child Claudia, that's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Because they're both kind of switched on as well.
I think they'd be good friends.
I'm going to say Marta and Noah, obviously, because they do end up together, because Marta is Agnes. So
yeah, okay, fair enough. Was she Agnes before or after she was the future girl?
She ages in as the future girl.
Hang on, she might just be using Noah's Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know. Listen, all these are unconfirmed.
Yeah, it's all coming up. Right, okay. So Konrad and Anthony, which characters do you feel they will expand more in the future? Also, what are your predictions for these characters? I don't think this person realizes that I've already seen the show.
I mean, you can go first if you want.
I'm not going to go. I'm not going to answer that. But thank you very much for thinking of me. Right, Conrad. Who do you think they'll expand more on?
I think Noah. I think we've got to see a bit more of Noah. I'll be a little bit disappointed if he just carries on being, off in his little room making a bad time machine for the next season. I want to see more of him. I think we're going to see a bunch of new characters in season 2 as well, like the future characters. And Claudia, I think, it's time for Claudia to come to the forefront, because I have a feeling she's going to be important. Admittedly, that is slightly informed by the fact that she's one of your favorite characters, so I'm trying not to let that influence me too much. But I suspect that she's going to be important based on how she's presented and the fact that you like her. So I'm interested to see when they actually kind of start getting into that.
Okay, cool. I details like that, like where I'm sort of sharing my thoughts on the show like that, I don't really think how we could make the podcast with the same feeling that we do make it with without me telling you who my favorite characters are. Do you know what I mean? So
I mean, it's not a bad thing to look forward to a cool character as well, like it.
Yeah.
She might just do something badass in like the first episode of season 2 and then blow herself up and never appear again. I don't
yeah,
I don't know.
He's like, well, I look how much of a deal I made of Ellie, and we only got like 2 episodes of her, so
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So, right, okay. So, greetings from Estonia. Great podcast.
Hello.
Kudos to you both. Thank you very much. I would really like if you could analyze the ultimate time travel mind bender 2014 movie Predestination. Oh yeah, so that's one thing that what's the question? That's one that's on the list. Predestination is definitely. I haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't seen that either.
I've heard it's very, very good, and it's a mind-bending time travel one. So that's definitely one we can do on the After Dark podcast. So hopefully we'll do that in the future. And there's a few questions here.
Okay.
Now, this first question, I don't know if this is a particular rabbit hole they're trying to lead you in, but we'll see. Does he think? So Conrad, do you think that Vola has more not yet known relations or relatives in the series? And will he become a bigger part of the time traveling later on?
I feel like he's just going to be like a joke character at this point, because he's done nothing. Like literally, like every character has had something meaningful to do. They've had like some relationship or they've had some action to take that affected the plot in a meaningful way. And literally all he has done is be told not to work on the case by Charlotte because she's doing it, and get shouted at by Ulrich, and then get a phone call from Alexander saying, can you give me some dirt on Ulrich? So I don't, if he does make a relationship, it's going to be a ephemeral and meaningless one, and it'll probably be very funny. But I don't think he's going to meaningfully affect anything. I hope he does. I hope I'm wrong, but at the moment I feel like he's just sort of comic relief.
Yeah. Cool. Another question. Will Ulrich ever see his family members again?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Number 3. What is Conrad's prediction on how season 2 will end? And then they add in brackets, I need some juicy theories to laugh later on how wrong he was. So how will season 2 end?
Okay, so going into season 2, we know that Jonas has been exposed to the sort of cataclysmic future that will unfold if he doesn't, in his mind, if he doesn't do anything. But we also know that Claudia presumably planned for this. So I think season 3 is going to get into like the end game of Claudia's plan. So I think season 2 is going to end with them exposing the group they're working against. I wonder if Claudia actually knows the group that they're working against, and whether she's going to like try and is she the type to like actually go after them and try and kill them? She feels like she might be, because she just walks around with a gun. Yeah, I think they're gonna go after the people who are maintaining the current timeline and try and like bump them off, and that's where the series is going to end up, with like probably one or more of them dying, possibly with Noah actually helping and kind of usurp, not to become a good guy, but to sort of usurp them or go off and sort of try and enact his own plans. So I think we're going to get another big bad, and then Claudia and Jonas are going to go off and kill them.
Okay, awesome. So another question: do you think that any new characters will be introduced in season 2? If yes, then how will they become a part of the show?
Well, yeah. So I think those like freedom fighter / Mad Max looking guys are going to be sort of a fairly significant cast of characters around Jonas. I think there's characters we haven't met yet in the 50s, or haven't seen a lot of yet in the 50s. So we'll probably get some more like on those guys. But yeah, as I've said before, I think it will mainly be the future that we focus on, at least for the beginning of this series, just because we haven't seen that yet, and that's where we left off. And I mean, there's so much fodder for characters, for both new characters turning up and returning characters, because presumably, Marta might still be alive. She'd be in her 50s or late 40s, I guess. Like, so Bartos. So it's all of those kids, they could show up again. I'm looking forward to seeing what has happened to them.
Awesome. Okay, so last question from Livvataya from Estonia. I'm sure I butchered that. It is, if you would be a character in the Dark series, who would you be? So any gender or any age, who would you be? I'm going to answer this as well after you.
Oh, who would I be? That is difficult. I'd probably be H.G. Tannhaus, actually, because he seems like he has the most relaxing position. He just gets to make watches or time machines, tinkering away in his shop, and never has to worry about anything, which very much speaks to me as a man in his 30s now.
Yeah. So awesome. So I'm in a very strange position in my choice. So I would either be Magnus or Franziska.
Oh, okay. Either way, you're getting laid.
Yeah. Either way, I'm with the other. I think I'd actually I would be Franziska, and the reason I just say that is because I think she's cool. I really like Franziska.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, she's a cool character. And I just, and she doesn't really get involved in too much time travel stuff. A bit like your H.G. Tannhaus reason. She's sort of just, in this first series, she's sort of just hanging about with her boyfriend. I think she's cool. I think Magnus, I wouldn't really want to be Magnus because he's just had his brother go missing. So
yeah, that wouldn't be great.
That would be a bit of a downer. So I think I would choose Franziska, if I'm honest with you.
She does have an evil mastermind as a younger sister, though, so that's got to put some tension.
Yeah, but I would bend her to my power and then use her. I'd use her to sort of do my bidding, and I'd make her admit that she isn't deaf mute.
Yeah,
right.
Get her to finally fess up.
Next question from Kathy B. What predictions does Konrad have for Jürgen Obendorf in season 2?
To be honest, I've forgotten Jürgen Obendorf even existed.
Yeah, just like we forgot Eric existed.
Yeah, I feel like the Obendorfs are like they feel like a bit of a footnote at the moment. I don't know what there is left for him to do. Like, his son is dead, his drug business is in shambles. Like, and we know he's a bit of an idiot. I wonder if he's gonna like go to the police about, I don't know, about like he might get. So we know Alexander is trying to destroy Ulrich, and we know that Jürgen Obendorf is like his lackey. So I wonder whether they'll put like Jürgen Obendorf and Voller together as like an odd couple of idiots who can't really do anything else, and they'll like just go off on this like bumbling scheme to try and bring down Ulrich, which is completely pointless because Ulrich is in prison in the 50s anyway, and that just gets them to like spin their plates until the series ends.
Fair enough.
I can't think of anything more meaningful for that character.
It's just a shot in the dark because we haven't seen him in ages.
He's not doing anything. He's got nothing to do. Like, I mean, we did see his wife as well, didn't we? Maybe they'll come back into it in a more meaningful way, but I feel like they'd have got more from the series 1 if they were going to be important.
Yeah, okay. So the Top New Pro asks, does Konrad believe that anyone is going to cast a spell in season 2? And does he think that there'll be anyone who's more of a villain than Noah?
I think there'll be someone who's more of a villain than Noah. I've just realised I don't actually think my someone will cast a spell is on my theory matrix, which is a big oversight on my part because that
Yeah.
should be a continuing theory. I'm going to pop that right in there next to Regina. We'll have a sword fight as an ongoing.
Yeah, that's ongoing. That's ongoing.
Or cast a spell.
Yeah.
I know someone will cast a spell.
Mickle is kind of casting a spell.
Yeah, Mickle. I mean, it depends. Really, does depend on your definition of magic. Because Mickle has cast plenty of magic spells thus far. But yeah, I live in hope that actually we did see a drone, and I can't remember where it's from, but any technology suitably advanced is indistinguishable from magic. So do we, when things get sci-fi enough, do we loop back round to being able to call it magic, and do I get the points for that? That is the real question.
No. I'm going to be hard on that one. No.
That's outrageous. I need the points.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. Sure, you'll touch on this during the episode review. But what does Konrad think of that Noah is talking about during his speech to Helga? So we've already talked about that in terms of it focusing on Uranus and stuff, So we're talking about.
Yeah, there's I haven't got it in front of me now, but there's a very kind of like prosaic thing he says about the I cannot remember it now, but he uses I'm going to look it up in my notes very quickly, but he uses a very specific phrase. No, I can't see it, but it's something. It's something to do with like a proper noun that he says. And it sounds like he's referencing something or like the head of some kind of organization. And that sort of stuck out to me as important. Maybe it was just like he was speaking in metaphor and it's not actually as important as I think it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like the way Noah talks to Helga is kind of foreshadowing the appearance of someone who's kind of pulling Noah's strings.
Interesting. Okay. Last commenter now with a fair few questions. This video is obviously going to be quite long. It's probably going to be our longest question and answers video yet because it's the end of the season. It makes sense. But Atahan has commented. He's got questions for you and questions for me. I'm gonna do a few of them. I'm not going to do all of them because there's just a lot of them. It'll take us, I think, 20 minutes to go through Atahan's questions. So
okay.
No need to apologize. He says, sorry at the bottom, but Atahan, no need to apologize. No need to, but fantastic, loads of questions. But unfortunately, I'm not going to have enough time to answer them all. If there's a particular question that I don't answer that you really want an answer to, then just comment under this video and then I'll answer on a comment, okay? So for Konrad, so I'm going to skip over a couple of these if we've sort of covered them a little bit. So first one that I'm going to pick out here is, do you think season 2 will pick up right where season 1 left off? Or do we think there'll be some kind of time jump between the seasons?
I mean, I think there'll be like 10 minutes. I think the season will begin with Jonas waking up from being knocked out.
Okay. So basically straight away then.
Yeah.
Do you think that any new timelines will be established?
That's such a hard question. Because we've really blown that wide open now. It can go. I think maybe there will. I think we might go to the 20s in the next episode and the next season.
Okay.
And Roman times, like I said before.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go on to a couple of questions for me now, and then we'll end this video.
All right.
So first question because the other questions from Atahan sort of have already been answered before. Atahan, if you disagree there, just leave a comment underneath. We'll try and answer for you. So another for me now, which episode of season 2 is your favorite? So obviously I'm not going to say what was in the episode, but I can say what's my favorite. And what do you expect Konrad's to be? This is very interesting, actually. I think my favorite episode of season 2 is episode 6. And I think, well, it's actually probably joint between 6 and 8. So 8 would be the season finale. 6 and 8, probably my favorite 2 episodes. Having said that, this is dark. Every episode is amazing. Yeah. But which do I think is going to be Konrad's favorite? Again, probably 6 and 8. I'd say probably he'll fall the same as me. Atahan asks, out of seasons 1 and 2, which do I prefer? I like them both the same. I don't prefer any season more than, I think season 1, 2, and 3. I like them all the same. If I was having to watch one season forever, probably I'd choose season 2.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I think
that's high praise.
I think I'd choose season 2. Having said that, in my opinion, they're all the same quality. I'm just thinking in terms of what happens in season 2. You know what I mean? Right. There's some little crumbs for you there, Konrad. Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to call it there. We've done so many questions. We've been sitting here for a long time. We're really happy with all your questions. I love talking about Dark. Konrad does too. So thanks very much, guys. Look out this Monday for season 2, episode 1. Now the fun begins, even though it's already began. But you know what I mean. Right. Any parting thoughts, Konrad? Before next time they hear you, you will have started season 2.
Yeah, we'll be knee deep in season 2. No, just thank you for watching along or listening along, and join us as we venture into the futuristic world of tomorrow. I don't know when it's set, but like 2052, I guess.
Yeah. My head just went to. Have you ever seen the film Parent Trap?
Yes, a long time ago, but yes.
Well, basically, what you just did is what the twin girls trying to get their parents to sort of rekindle their relationship. They're like, "Come with us on a journey to yesteryear."
Yeah, no, it's just like the kind of kitschy, the world of tomorrow, today kind of advertisements for cars in the 50s.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
that'd be very exciting.
Very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. As always, on the next episode, leave questions for episode 2. So on this next episode, season 2, episode 2, leave questions. We'll have a question and answers video. Thanks very much for watching. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on podcasting apps. Like the video. That'd be fun. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the After Dark podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.